The myth about my chamber symphony, a myth that I'm responsible for having propagated, is that I was studying the score of Schoenberg's famous Opus 9 Chamber Symphony in preparation for conducting it, while my son, my 6-year-old son Sam, was in another room watching cartoons on television, great cartoons from the 1950s. And somehow the very acrobatic and wild madcap instrumental music that accompanied these great cartoons like Tom and Jerry and Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny got conflated in my head with the equally aerobic and virtuosic writing in Schoenberg's Chamber Symphony, which is one of the great masterpieces of the early part of the 20th century. So, as is often the case with pieces of mine, certainly that's the case with Absolute Jest and with Harmonie Leer, music that means a great deal to me from the canon, from the past, whether it's Beethoven or Schoenberg or Sibelius or Stravinsky, whatever, suggested a piece to me. So I composed my chamber symphony, which is similar to the same number of instruments of Schoenberg's, and it has that same kind of wacky aerobic quality, although I think there's much more antic play and sort of wisecracking humor in my symphony than there is in the Schoenberg version. The first movement's called Mongrel Airs. It features a tin can, which is really a cowbell, but it's hit first very hard at the beginning and then creates a very regular pulse against which the instruments all kind of pile on. I think one of the inspirations for this piece, aside from the cartoon music, was being at a birthday party for a bunch of kids, and this sort of insane, out-of-control activity that goes on when you get a lot of kids together and one's trying to outsmart the other and show off. So there is a kind of whimsical quality of these solo instruments, the E-flat clarinet and the piccolo and the violin and the synthesizer all try to outdo one another. The second movement is called Aria with Walking Bass, and the walking bass, of course, is this very regular pizzicato bass that just moves along at a very steady pace, like some kind of dray horse or oxen, and above it a quiet chorale-like melody is intoned first on the trumpet and the trombone and then the other brass instruments, and then again strange competitive little riffs start happening in the other instruments, and again we get a kind of agon, a competition for attention from the various instruments. The last movement really does come out and honor the cartoon pedigree of the Chamber Symphony. It's called Roadrunner, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The music takes off right from the start. There's a lot of crazy activity. It culminates in a violin cadenza, which then races to the glorious finish, which is accompanied at the very end by a quote from the very last bars of the predecessor, the Schoenberg Opus 9.